Mao Zedong created the People's Republic. Deng Xiaoping created China's economic miracle. Deng was a practical man, a man to get things done, not much of a talker. The chairman always had a soft spot for him, and once pointed Deng out to Khrushchev, saying, "Don't underestimate that little man. He once destroyed a 1,000,000-man army of Chiang Kai-shek." Deng won the trust and confidence of Mao and the army marshals during the long days and hard battles of the Long March. After the communists took Beijing, Deng was given charge of the southwest. His job involved cleaning up the remnants of the Kuomintang, controlling discontent in Tibet, and supervising Mao's Red Line program to move defense industry inland, where it would be hidden and safe from any invasion from the east. Deng was very efficient and was promoted up the party ranks fast. Deng's career soared after the Great Leap Forward as he joined the small group that revived the economy but crashed when Mao attacked the established leadership in the Cultural Revolution. For years, he was banished to work in a tractor factory, and his son was crippled for life after being thrown from a fourth-floor window. It was a difficult time, without power, position, money, or security. After the death of Marshal Lin Biao, Mao's designated successor who tried a coup against the chairman, Mao brought Deng back to the heart of power. Once back, he was threatened by enemies, the most dangerous of whom were Jiang Qing, Mao's wife, and her gang of 4. His supporters included the respected Premier Zhu Enlai, but Zhu was ill, old, and soon to die of cancer. When Deng eulogized Zhu in his funeral speech, Jiang Qing persuaded Mao, her paranoid husband, to purge Deng once more. Within a month of Mao's death, Jiang Qing and her gang of 4 were arrested and sentenced to life imprisonment. Mao's wife died in prison. Marshal Yi, the instigator of the coup, brought Deng back to join the new ruling triumvirate of Hua, Ye, and Deng. Deng was the most junior of the 3. Between 1977 and 1981, Deng grew stronger and Hua grew weaker. In this secret battle, Deng followed the advice of the ancient strategist Sun Tzu, that the best general is he who wins wars without fighting battles. Never attacking Hua, Deng gently replaced him and became the paramount leader of China. Hua followed the 2 whatevers, whatever Mao said and whatever Mao did. Deng countered that Mao was human, not a god, that his policies were 70% good and 30% bad. Deng's main platform was economic reform. The party leaders backed Deng and his reform. It helped that the new party leadership included 3 million cadres who had suffered in the Cultural Revolution and had been rehabilitated by Deng and his team. Mao had completely changed China. Deng now completely changed Mao's China. Mao had imposed communism. Deng replaced it with socialism with Chinese characteristics, in which it didn't matter if it was a white cat or a black cat. It was a good cat if it catches the mice. Communism was out. Reform and opening up were in. Deng taught, poverty is not socialism, to be rich is glorious. For China, it was an untrodden path. But Deng said, we will cross the river by feeling the stones. In the countryside, the household contract responsibility system and the town and village enterprises. On the coast, the special economic zones. And all over China, the state-owned enterprises defined the new economy. China prospered. The dark side of reform was the growth of corruption, inequality, and massive inflation. Discontent erupted in the Tiananmen Square protests, where students chanted, "We don't care if it's a white cat or a black cat, as long as it resigns." Deng called in the army and smashed the protests. The US imposed sanctions on China. The economy stalled. Zhao Ziyang, the general secretary of the party, resigned and was sentenced to house arrest for 16 years. Jiang Zemin was selected general secretary in a surprise move, and Deng retreated to the backbenches as Mao had done after the Great Leap. Now Chen Yang and the conservatives dominated policy. In 1992, Deng made his comeback with his southern tour. The marshals of the PLA backed him. The party backed him. Economic growth exploded upwards as Deng followed valuable lessons from Singapore and Japan's economic success. Till his death on 19 February 1997, Deng could do no wrong. He positioned his successors, not just Jiang and Zhu Rongji, but even Hu Jintao, who was to follow Jiang as his successor 10 years later. Deng died of Parkinson's disease and lung infection. His eyes and internal organs were donated for medical research. His body cremated. After Mao and Deng, there were no more heroes. Party apparatchiks took turns at leadership for 10-year terms. First Jiang Zemin and then Hu Jintao, both engineers. Jiang looked like a lightweight, but behind the mask, he was a wily and skilled politician. He quickly moved to consolidate his power. His key strategist was Zheng Qinghorn, known as the Chinese Machiavelli. The first to fall were the powerful Yang brothers. Yang Shankun was president, and Yang Baibin in charge of the army. Zheng convinced Deng that there was danger of an army coup from the Yang family army. The Yang brothers and 1,300 senior PLA officers were removed. Next, Jiang and Zheng removed the powerful old guard. Chen Shitong, the mayor of Beijing. Li Ruyan, the mayor of Tianjin. Li Peng, the premier. Chao Shi, who had been a contender for general secretary before Jiang got the job. Their replacements came from Shanghai and became known as the Shanghai clique. Jiang made important contributions to China. He institutionalized the system of succession in China's politics and himself stepped down after his term. He presided over the return of Hong Kong from the British. He led China's entry to the WTO, opening up China's trade prospects, changing the world forever. He admitted the new business elite into the establishment. No longer were they outsiders in China's power structure. He promoted many of China's mega projects. The economy continued its amazing growth. Jiang promoted and empowered Zhu Rongji, the forceful new premier. Zhu reformed the banking and financial systems, reformed the state-owned enterprises and created national champions, downsized the bureaucracy, getting rid of 4 million surplus officials, and negotiated China's entry to the WTO. When Jiang stepped down, Hu Jintao took his place. Hu was a hydraulic engineer from Tsinghua University, whose power base was the Communist Youth League, which had larger membership than even the Communist Party. Deng had sponsored his elevation with the simple remark, "This person Hu is not bad at all." Hu was smart and very patient, a rare combination. He successfully overcame all challenges and crises. The purge of Chen Liangyu, the Shanghai Party secretary. He put down disturbances in Tibet and Xinjiang. He dealt with Charter 08 and the dissident Liu Xiaobo. He handled the fallout of the world financial crisis. He purged Bo Xilai, the Chongqing party secretary, who stunned the world with his magnificent 2008 Beijing Olympics and his 2010 Shanghai Expo, each of which cost over $40 billion. His greatest achievement was the economy. In his 10 years in power, China's GDP multiplied by 4 times, and China overtook the UK, France, Germany and Japan. Who spoke little? He didn't need to speak. His economy said it all. Under who and when, China's national champions became the biggest companies in the world. Sinopec and CNPC, China's massive oil giants. China State Construction. ICBC, the world's largest bank. The man who took the reins from Hu was a princeling, Xi Jinping. He had lived a privileged life at the top when his father, Xi Zhongshan, was vice premier. He had suffered bitter years when his father was purged by Mao, and Xi was sent down to live in a cave, look after pigs, and shovel manure. He was to surprise both China and the world with the scope of his vision and the scale of his ambition. Xi started with a massive anti-corruption drive to catch both tigers and flies. This cleaned up the party and eliminated those opposed to Xi's policies. The most prominent of the tigers were Bo Xilai, who was sentenced for corruption. His wife was convicted for the murder of Neil Haywood in the Lucky Holiday Hotel. Zhu Yongkang, the powerful security chief, who was locked away for corruption, and his assets of $14 billion confiscated. Liu Zizhen, who created the high-speed rail network, was sentenced for corruption. Ling Zhihua, Hu's chief of staff, whose son crashed in a red Ferrari with 2 naked girls. 2 top generals of the PLA. Xi decided to show the world that China's time had come and that the American century was coming to a close. He announced the Belt and Road Initiative, the largest infrastructure program the world had ever seen. He threatened US hegemony. Tensions with the US grew. Would there be war? Xinjiang and Hong Kong erupted in demonstrations and violence. The trade war with America started. Finally, everything was overturned by the coronavirus pandemic. These exciting events are portrayed in later videos in the series.